Hello, this is Encounters with Life. I'm Sean Abigail, your host. Well, what do you think about the CBC? Is it your favorite entertainment? Is it your favorite news media? Is it a trusted old friend? Is it vital to Canada's interests that we retain the CBC? Or has its time come and gone? Does the original vision for what the CBC would accomplish as a national unifier, is that simply gone now? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. But I want to get a little bit deeper beyond what we feel about the CBC. That, I think, is something that contributed to Pierre Poilievre losing this past election. So when he was running at like 50% in the polls, he could afford to throw some red meat to the base and say, we're going to defund the CBC and make them survive on advertising revenue alone, the way every other station does. But when it came down to it getting tight in the polls, I think that is something that hurt him. But now, let's think about how much money the CBC is getting. Here's an article from last year. It was talking about federal budget boosts funding for CBC Radio-Canada. Executives say significant job cuts no longer needed. They were going to lay off 10% of their workforce, and the government came through with additional money. Well, that was last year. And last year, continuing in the same article, it was said that they would get in 2024, 2025, an estimated $1.38 billion. Now, in addition to that, Mark Carney promised an extra $150 million. So it's up over $1.5 billion of funding that the CBC gets. That's in addition to their advertising revenues. Well, let's put that into perspective, shall we? That may be justifiable if anybody actually watched the CBC. I don't think hardly anyone ever does anymore, except maybe Hockey Night in Canada. Really, I don't think anybody is really enamored with the CBC anymore, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. But let's put that into perspective and compare it with how much money Canada spends on our intelligence service. Now, this is our foreign intelligence service, our security service. This is CSIS, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. This is who is protecting us from foreign interference and not just from bad politicians who are getting bought off by foreign countries, but the whole range of security activities except electronic intelligence. So the budget for CSIS is estimated for 2024-2025 at $702 million. In other words, Canada spends half as much, less than half as much, on intelligence, on our security, than we do on the CBC. And I think that means we are amusing ourselves to death. Why do we do this? Why wouldn't we properly fund CSIS and let the CBC compete with the other stations out there? Let them survive on advertising revenue the way the others do. I think that something is wrong here in Canada. I think something needs to change. Mark Carney's not going to change it. He rode that wagon all the way to an election victory. But the problem still remains. Canada is spending twice as much on entertaining ourselves as we are on keeping ourselves secure. Well, that's what I think. What do you think? I love comments. I even love hearing from people who think differently than me. If the CBC is something that you're passionate about, please let me know in the comments. I'm Sean Abigail. That's Encounters with Life.